We'll ask Go about this. He talked about it being Aranda's best game plan. I thought that was absolutely the case. What the pass rush team specifically has a lot of really interesting things going on. And obviously it was their most dominant night, right? I read that it was the first time they've had 6 sacks in 3 years. So you how long it's maybe been. But Rashard Lawrence, Kevin Chesson, Marcel Brooks, Damone Clark, that's kind of your base D line here. But then it gets interesting, man. At one point, Chason was lined up at a middle linebacker. At one point, Jacoby Stevens was a stand-up middle linebacker, doing a lot of interesting things where everybody's walked up on the line and then one of the 5 will like jab forward like he's rushing and then back up and be a bit of a QB spy. The reason why that's interesting, maybe that's something you see down the road if you match up with Ohio State or maybe even Clemson. It was so multiple and using the same personnel package, but in a ton of different ways, bringing 5, bringing 4, all kinds of twists and stunts. I don't know why it took as long as it did to get to this point, or maybe they just really liked it because A&M's pass rush rules, but it was by far the most impressive LSU pass rush that I've seen in a couple years.
Here's Ogeron talking about the newest addition to the defensive staff, and he's really been credited for these new blitz packages.
Got to give it to Billy Johnson. Billy Johnson has taken our guys and really has increased our pass rush knowledge. And I think Coach Johnson, you can see the difference in Coach Johnson's techniques coming time and time again. I give him the credit.
And so what that was in response to, I asked him about Damone Clark specifically yesterday because Damone Clark, as a redshirt freshman linebacker, bull rushed a guard and got a sack. I mean, it was like a picture-perfect bull rush as well. Really strong from Damone. But as Coach said, Bill Johnson, a guy who's been in the game forever, has done a very good job of helping not just your traditional D linemen. Like Braden Fajoko smashed Kellen Mond yesterday on the Grant, or he smashed him Saturday on the Grant Delpit interception. So Bill Johnson had an impact there, but he's had an impact with your non-traditional guys, your Damone Clark, Marcel Brooks. Marcel Brooks was a constant feature in that backfield. And then obviously Calevon had his best pure pass rushing game that he has had all season. When he wasn't getting sacks, he was making Mond step up into the pocket into more pressure, or he was stopping him from stepping up. If Calevon plays like that, it's going to be really, if this pass rush group plays like that's how you got 2 of 13 on third down, because they were constantly in Kellen Mond's grill.
Ogeron was talking about the mentality of heading to Atlanta and playing Georgia for the title game.
Well, I know our fans are going to be there. I feel good about that. Everywhere we've gone, we've had great fans. But we will treat this as an away game. We will have crowd noise on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll be very well prepared for all the Georgia fight songs they'll play on our field all week.
I'm actually expecting pretty much a 50-50 split. Isn't that generally how these things go in terms of these championship games? I mean, maybe like 60-40. I don't think it's going to be anything too overwhelming.
I don't think it will be either. I mean, if you just kind of feel the buzz of the town, just kind of being out yesterday, being on the streets.
Well, I was looking at flights too, and they're going quick.
Yeah, I mean, we're driving.
Yeah,
Friday morning. We try to get on a late flight. I mean, it's just I think that Baton Rouge, the South Louisiana, is going to dump into Georgia this weekend.
And I just remember like back in the day, like the 2007 championship, right? It's in New Orleans, and I was figuring, oh man, it's gonna be like all LSU fans. It basically ended up being a 50-50 split.
Ohio State
with those Ohio State fans.
And Atlanta's got a really nice base of LSU alumni.
Yes,
and there is a big LSU contingency in Atlanta. So anytime the Tigers play there, it's usually going to be a lot of purple and gold. This is a big time for recruiting right now, and we'll talk to Ogeron in 5 minutes about how he's handling the schedule. But here's what he said yesterday when asked the question of recruiting around the SEC title game.
Yeah, it's crunch time. Obviously, I'm glad that we did a lot of work ahead of time. And we've had a majority of our guys that are going to sign have already visited, which helps us. Now, we will not be in many home visits. There may be 1 or 2 home visits if we have to this week. I just made my schedule for next week. I'm going to be in 20. I'm going to see 20 players, and that's in 1 week. So it does put a little crunch on you. We got to get it done, but it's a good problem to have.
I mean, imagine that, dude. After the grind of a 12-0 year, where I mean, you're in it. It's all day, every day, for what, about 4 months, I guess you say? And then you finish the SC Championship. It was 13 weeks straight. Just like I said, pure grind, 15 weeks with the buys. And, oh, man, well, you get to chill, right? No, you have to go visit 20 kids in 5 days so that you can try to convince them to come to school.